I cannot believe we actually are champions again for the fourth time. Campioni d'Italia, welcome to Napoli Talk for a very, very special video. Guys, as you know, last night I was in Naples. I wasn't able to get tickets for the game. There were over 400,000 people in the queue to get tickets. I was number like 390,000. So I was way off from being lucky. But guys, I think in no other time like before, it wasn't the 11 players on the field. It wasn't even just the 12th man outside the stadium, but it was the 13th man, the people outside the stadium as well, that contributed to this incredible Napoli win. I mean, I was one of those people yesterday that even if I didn't have a ticket, I went down to the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona to cheer on the team bus, and it was absolute chaos in there. And then I rushed back to go and be able to watch the game, and yeah, what a performance by the usual Scott McTominay, guys. And it was not easy. It was not easy for us. Cagliari came out to play, not just, not just trying to win, but they had Katzima, they really wanted to spoil the party. There was even a bit of I wouldn't call it a punch, but almost a punch in the face of Raspadori. I mean, these guys were tough as nails. Mina looked like prime Chiellini, but there was just no stopping Scott McTominay last night or this year. And Conte and the boys made the impossible happen, guys. I went and celebrated last night in the streets. I couldn't make a live or anything like that because there was absolutely no cell coverage. Super tired today. super tired. But yeah, what a crazy atmosphere, what a crazy experience, great stuff. And I just keep thinking back about the way that this team was able to pull this off. This is a team without Victor Osimhen from the start of the season, without Kvicha Kvaratskhelia since the halfway point, and even when he was here, you could argue that he wasn't the same Kvicha as 2 years ago. This is a completely brand new team, and the best roster didn't win the league, but the team that sacrificed itself the most, the team that was able to overcome, I think, the most challenges, won. There's just no other team that has won a title and objectively got worse in the winter than it started the season off. This was a team that on the first game of the season lost 3-0. We were not ready. We were not prepared for this season. We didn't have any of our superstars. Well, I call them superstars now, but they certainly were not superstars when they got signed on the last day of the season. Scott McTominay, you could argue, was Man United's best player, but nobody would put him in a top 200 of world football, and I think he's fully deserved now a top 10 spot in the Ballon d'Or. Not that competition or award means much maybe nowadays, but certainly a top 10 player for me this season, just in the world. Lukaku, we all know the jokes around Lukaku, and he proved everybody wrong. Maybe he's not as good as Victor Osimhen, I agree, but for the way that Conte wants to play, he puts in exactly the type of shift that Conte wants. And then you had players throughout the season that stepped up in crucial times. I think maybe first shout out is to Juan Jesus, that came off the back of a horrible season, guys. A horrible season where he was made almost a scapegoat of last year, you know, because he was stepping in for Kim Min-jae, and everybody was saying how everything was his fault and he did not have a good season. But this year, when Buongiorno was out injured, and he was out injured for half the year, he stepped up incredibly well. Then when he got injured, Oliveira stepped up from left back into that center back defense position. And yeah, those defenders just gave it everything. Rachmani, they really were the core part of this team, allowed us to keep so many clean sheets at the start of the year, made it really tough for anybody to score against us, and that was key. And then we had up top players that made impacts across the season, like Scott McTominay, Lukaku, but then you had players that stepped up in certain crucial points of the season, like Neres, between, let's say, September and October. You know, he was coming in off the bench, scoring great goals, assisting. He had a crazy start to the season. Followed it up a little bit in December when it seemed like Kvara was leaving and he was starting to get into the starting 11. And then Raspadori later on. I mean, he scored some heavy goals for us. The one against Monza, even the one against Genoa, where we ended up being 2-2. These are players that really shined this season when it mattered the most. And then you had guys that will never be in the spotlight, but they were just so consistent, like Politano. Guys, if you think about how many times the link up between Politano's cross and Scott McTominay's goal happened, it must have been 4 or 5 times this season. He was consistently playing 90 minutes, which was something that we did not think he had it in him. And yeah, just a huge shout out to just every single person out there in this team, because they, I think, really went the extra mile. I think they pulled off something that I don't think they even believed in at the start of the season, and it's all thanks to, as well, Conte, but as I said, the 12th man, which is the fans in the stadium, but at times, like yesterday, even the 13th man, which is the people outside the stadium. Guys, there was an atmosphere in the city which was electric, which, yeah, I think some of these players, you know, that are here, especially for the first time, like Gilmour, McTominay, Lukaku, what an experience this must be for them for the first time to witness Napoli being Campioni d'Italia. And guys, the party is just getting started. I mean, this is a very different atmosphere from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, the flags and everything, the murals were out and about in the city since March, because it was almost mathematical since match day 20 that we were going to win the title. And so people were decorating the city from very early on. Now we were in a very different title run-in, where it was at times Inter ahead, at times it was us. There's 1 point in it, and nobody wanted to go and buy flags or any kind of celebratory decorations, just in case things didn't go the way that they did. So it will take maybe a few hours for those things to come out, but yeah, I can't wait to see what the city will look like later this afternoon or tomorrow. And then we have the parade for the Napoli players on Monday, so I'm sure by then the city will be fully decorated, and it will just be a great sight. And I think that parade is something that I'm really looking forward to. I think the city deserves it. We didn't get a chance to have an open bus parade 2 years ago. It received a lot of criticism, so they're finally doing it this year, and I think it's going to be amazing to have the players celebrate with the fans in the city. For every single fan that maybe doesn't get the option or ability to go watch a game at the stadium, they can actually see the players close up on the bus at least. So that's going to be super good. But yeah, on my side, guys, I'm just so stoked that we won this. There were times when I didn't believe that we would be able to do it. We got a little bit of luck, to be honest, with Pedro, with Orsolini. We couldn't do this alone. That's for sure. We needed Inter to drop some points, but then when you really step back, the points that Inter dropped are more or less the same points that we dropped. They drew against Parma, we drew against Parma. They drew against Genoa, we drew against Genoa. They lost against Bologna, we drew against Bologna. Like we struggled against the same teams, and ultimately, guys, it's 1 point that made the difference. It's 1 point, one tiny point along the season that could have been any of the goals that we scored. Maybe the most important one is actually Philip Billing against Inter in the 86th minute at home, and what a story that is as well. And there's just so many moments this year where different players stepped up, even unlikely heroes, and that's the beauty of a 38 game season, is that it gives everybody a chance. And I'm so glad as well for guys like Mazzocchi, who are Neapolitan through and through, that they got the chance to be part of this team, guys. But yeah, I'm just super happy to be here, super happy that this happened. And my gut feeling is that Conte will stay. I think if we had not won, he would have left. But I think the fact that he's won, nobody can touch him next year. Nobody can say anything. So the pressure's off. And now it's just about going and enjoying the Champions League. And I'm sure De Laurentiis is going to build a team to go far in the Champions League. I think that's the objective. That's what he wants. He's won the Scudetto. Now he wants the Champions. That's the really big prize. And even the type of names that are being linked to us, like De Bruyne, you don't buy De Bruyne if you're trying to build a long-term project. You buy De Bruyne because next year you want to win a title, and you're not gonna pay 8 million to win another Scudetto. You're paying 8 million salary to a guy who you think can help you lift the Champions League. I'm 100% certain that that's the ambition for next year. It's to win the Champions League. That was the ambition as well after we won the third Scudetto. But De Laurentiis executed it horribly with Rudi Garcia, with signings that didn't make any sense. And I think he's learned his lesson. He's learned that this team cannot just go and win things on autopilot. It needs very targeted, very experienced, very good quality players, and a great coach leading them. So, hey, if Conte decides that he wants to leave because he feels like the job's done, fair enough. Thank you for everything. And I'm sure De Laurentiis will get another great coach to come in. A winning coach, a coach that has done well in the Champions League. I'm sure we won't repeat the same mistake of getting someone like Rudi Garcia again. So I don't know. I'm just confident. I'm confident in the future. I feel like we know how to win now, and we also know how not to behave the year after. So I really think that the future's bright, that we can build off the back of the past experiences, and we push forward. And guys, yeah, dude, I'm just stoked, super happy. And for me, yeah, obviously McTominay, man of the match, man of the season, man of the city. Just an incredible player. And the not just the amount of goals from midfield, which is great, but the type of goals when he scored them, and the way he's been able to integrate himself so well with the culture, with the fans. It's just been a joy to watch, and I'm super happy for him and for everyone. So guys, that is my review. Wanted to keep this short so you guys can digest this during this weekend. at your own convenience, but there will be a lot of deep dives over the next few days and weeks, with a lot of content on different players, on maybe reviewing some of the best games, some of the most important games, some key moments, the evolution of how Conte set up the team. I think it's great to look back into a season like that, to wrap it up before we start the next one in just 2 months time, 2.5 months time, guys. So yeah, guys, that's it. I hope you're as happy as me, you're stoked, and with that, guys, I'm gonna end it here. Campioni d'Italia siamo noi, and as always, Forza Napoli sempre. Ciao.